Constructor in Java. Now let us see about constructor in Java. Constructor is a special method which is used in order to initialize an object. The variables which are declared inside a class are known as instance variables fields. The constructor construct an object. It provides value for the object. So that's why it is named as constructor. Constructor contains a block of statements which performs the given tasks. The major advantage of constructor is it is useful in order to perform initialization object. Now let us see the rules for constructors. The first one is constructor name must be same as the class name. Second one is constructor do not write any integer value or float value. Constructor do not write any written values. Third one is the access specifier or the modifier of the constructor may be public, private, protect or default. We can leave any access specifier before construct a constructor. Fourth one is constructor cannot be final. So we can't use modifier such as final, abstract, synchronized. These access modifiers cannot to be used before the constructors. Fifth one is how to call a constructor. During object creation, only the corresponding constructor will be called. So we can say that a constructor should be called at the same time of object creation. The syntax of creating an object is class name space object is equal to new space class name, left parenthesis, right parenthesis, semicolon. Now let us see about types of constructors in Java. Constructors are mainly classified into two types. They are default constructors, which is also called as no argument constructor, and the second one is parameterized constructor. Now let us see the first one, default constructor. Now we discuss about the default constructor. A constructor without argument is called a default constructor. So that means default constructor does not contains any arguments. If we don't define any constructor inside a class, then by default compiler will define a default constructor inside a class, and it provides a initial values to the variables. If we don't perform initialization for integer values variables, then 0 will be stored. For this, let us take an example. Int a. Here we do not perform any initialization. The compiler will store 0 as the default initial variable. Suppose if it is a floating point variable such as float and double, then 0.0 will be stored. Suppose it is a character variable, then by default blank space will be stored. Suppose it is a character variable, then by default blank space will be stored. Suppose it is a reference variable like string, class, object, then null will be stored. So here the point is, if we did not define any constructor inside a class, then the compiler will be defines default constructors and initializes the default values to the corresponding variables. Whereas if we define any constructor inside the class, then the compiler does not define any default constructor. For this default constructor, simply 2 points are there. If we don't define any constructor, then the compiler defines the default constructor. The second point is, if we define any constructor, then the compiler defines any default constructors. These are the 2 points for the default constructors. Now let us see the examples for the example program for the default constructors. Already we have seen that the name of the constructor name of the constructor must be same as the class name. So here what is the name of the class name is rectangle, and the constructor name also known as rectangle. A constructor is nothing but a special method. So we have to use the after the rectangle left parenthesis and right parenthesis. Now let us see about the body of the constructor. Length is equal to 10, breadth is equal to 20. This is called as default constructor. Why? Because what is the default constructor? The constructor without argument is called as default constructor. Rectangle constructor does not contain any argument. That's why it is called as default constructors. Now this is nothing but a area of return. The return type is double the return length into breadth. So in this example, we are calculating the area of rectangle. The formula for area of rectangle is length into breadth. We know that the execution of the program starts from the main method. So public static main static void main string args. So first object is created. Rectangle object 1 is equal to new rectangle left parenthesis right parenthesis semicolon. Whenever an object is created, the memory will be allocated to the member variables of the class. So here object 1 is the name of the object. Next, here member of variable is length and breadth. Here member of variable is length and also breadth. For length the memory will be allocated. For breadth also the memory will be allocated. The size of the double is 8 bytes in Java program. In the Java program the size of the double is 8 bytes. So 8 bytes of the memory will be allocated for the length and breadth. Here in this example the constructor does not contain any arguments. Here length is 10 and breadth is 20. In this object 1, the 10 will be stored, the 20 will be stored in breadth. Here the control goes to the constructor. Next statement is rectangle object 2 is equal to new rectangle left parenthesis right parenthesis semicolon. So one more object is created. In this object 2, the length memory will be allocated 8 bytes. In the breadth memory will be allocated 8 bytes. Like that object 1. In this the control goes to constructor. In the object 2, the length will be 10 will be stored. The length 10 will be stored. The breadth also 20 will be stored. So execution of object creation is over. Next statement, that is system.out.println area of first object is object 1 dot area. The control goes to the area of the method. So return length into breadth. In the object 1 the length of the value is 10 and the breadth value is 20. This is nothing but 10 into 20 is equal to 200.0. So it is a double. Area of the first object is 200.0 will be displayed. Same like that, the object 2 also contains a length is equal to 10, breadth is equal to 20. Like that object 2 also 200.0 is will be displayed or printed. For all objects output will be same. In the default constructor the output will be same. Here the object of the length and breadth of the initial value is 0.0. Object 2 also the initial value is 0.0. Already we discussed about that. Initial value is 0.0. The output is 0.0 into 0.0 it is nothing but 0 0.0 point 0. So this is the default constructor, and the second one is parameterized constructor. A constructor with the parameterized constructor, it is nothing but a constructor with parameters is called as parameterized constructor. So that means our constructor contains parameters, as well as during an object creation also we need to pass parameters to the corresponding constructors. Simply one point is parameter constructors having a arguments. A mm, constructor contains parameters. Need to pass parameter. So if we want to initialize the different values for the object, then we have to go to parameterize constructors. Again I am saying, if we want to initialize the different values for the object, then we have go to parameterized constructor. I want to initialize the different values for object 1 as well as object 2. In that occasion, we have to use it parameterized constructor. Now let us see the example for the parameterized constructor. This is the example for parameterized constructor. Here we need to pass the values. Here rectangle is double L double B. Here body of the constructor is length L is equal to L, breadth B is equal to B. Next during the object creation, next during the object 1 is equal to new rectangle, that is 10 comma 20, that is nothing but L is equal to 20 and breadth, and L means length, breadth means 20, length is equal to 10 and breadth is equal to 20, 10 20. Now object 2, the new rectangle is length is equal to 30 and breadth is equal to 40. Now let us see how the program will be executed. Now let us see how the program will be executed. How this program will be executed. Here the length is 8 bytes allocated, breadth also 8 bytes allocated. In this length will be in the length 10 will be stored and the breadth 20 will be stored. It is nothing but a 10 into 20, 200. Rectangle object 2, first we discuss about object 1, that is length into breadth is equal to 10 into 20, it is nothing but a 200. Now we discuss rectangle object 2, that is nothing but a length is equal to 10 and length is equal to 30 and breadth is equal to 40. The memory will be allocated the length and breadth, that is nothing but 30 and 40. 30 and 40, the 30 will be passed to the length, the 40 will be passed to the breadth. Object 1 is object 1, we discussed that 10 into 20 is equal to 200 and object 2 is 30 into 40 is equal to 1200.0. That will be written. In this what we do, in the default constructor output is same, but in the parameterized constructor output will be different. So here firstly we know about the, in this parameterized constructor, it is used to initialize the different values for the object, that is the parameterized constructors. This is the constructors in Java. There are the two types, default constructor and parameterized constructor. This is the difference for default constructor and parameterized constructor. Hmm, now